Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual. And obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 110 of the show. And before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning real quick. So I want to thank you guys again for coming back and listening to the episodes. It really means a lot to me. I know you guys are asking, what happened with Wednesday's episode, because I know I recorded it with a video and I have the video. The problem is the same issue with today's episode, that Adobe Premiere is being weird where it doesn't want to work. So I am not able to do a video version, but that doesn't really matter since obviously we're naturally already a audio podcast first. And so it doesn't really change the flow of things, because it's like I already have all my recording equipment, so I can just record in my audio editing software and then move on with my life. But yeah, video is having a little bit of issues. So thank you guys for at least being patient with me and working with me. I know it's a bit tricky. Like I said, it's kind of annoying. Well, I wouldn't say kind of, it really is annoying, but you get what I'm saying, that it's something that I'm working with right now and we're just trying to see what we can do. So at least for now, these two episodes will not have video, even though, yes, I do have the video version of the last episode, Wednesday's episode. But for now, at least for this episode and Wednesdays, I will not have the video. Maybe by next week we can get everything working. So we'll find out. But I do want to thank you guys again for coming back and listening to these episodes. It really means a lot to me, because you guys know I care about you guys coming back and listening, because it really means a lot to me. And obviously the show is doing great. I want to thank you guys for that. Patreon backers, thank you guys for your support. It really means a lot to me. You guys keep coming back and supporting the show. So today's episode is not what I actually originally thought of, and I want to explain why. Originally, today's episode was going to be talking about the folding iPhone, but I decided against it, mainly because, one, there's not so much information on it, and there hasn't been so much talk going on about it right now. But I just felt that it makes more sense to wait until there's a little bit more information, take a little bit more time to look into it, talk about it. Or I'd say look into it, research it, and then, generate my thoughts, and then see what other people are saying about it as well. Because like I said, not that many people are talking about it. So I want to save that episode for a later date. So I really want to use this one to be a real talk. So it is a surprise, because like I said, we haven't had a real talk in a little bit of time, but I thought it was appropriate to do a real talk because I wanted to talk about how I'm doing. And basically that's what this real talk is about. It's how am I doing? And a very simple question, but it has many layers to it that I wanted to talk about, because that's really the whole point of the real talk episodes. Is there's no script, there's no talking point. It's mainly just talk about what's on my mind, talk about something, based on my experiences or based on conversations I have with other people, healthy discussions. And for this one, it's just, how am I doing? And I know it's a simple question, like I said before, but there has been a lot. I don't want to talk about it because I think it's only fair. And because I know you guys care, because you guys keep coming back and listening. You guys keep asking me questions. You guys interact with me. You guys really like the real talks to begin with. And like I said, we still have something planned in regards to the real talks going forward, but there needs to be more time given. So how am I doing? I think it's only fair that I start at the the beginning because it makes a little bit more sense. So if I'm being honest with y'all, going into this year was weird. I was extremely depressed. I was going through a lot of pain emotionally. A lot of pain that was caused by mistakes that I have made, and it was not easy. And it was hard because I couldn't live with them. Did I regret some of them? Or I'd say more specifically, did I regret a lot of decisions that I made? No, but, it was hard for me because, I just didn't have somebody that I wanted there, And at the start of the year, I was depressed. I had a mental breakdown on New Year's Eve, and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't. And it was on January 4th is when I would say I got slapped back to reality by going to the one place that I felt was a safe place for me, but at the same time it was a reminder for me, like, hey, you need to wake up, bud. Like, there's a lot of responsibilities on your shoulders. There's a lot of people that care about you, that it's not just one person that cares about you. And yeah, you made mistakes, but it's okay, like, you're not supposed to be perfect. You're not perfect. And, especially when it was Christmas, one of my mentors told me that, Josh, I know it's hard, and I know he wished me a Merry Christmas, but I also told him, I'll try not to feel lonely, because this is a time when you want everyone there. And he told me, Josh, let me tell you something. The day that you can say you're alone is the day that when every one of us that cares about you is no longer there. But even then, when we're all not there anymore, God is still with you. And that resonated with me because that was something that I needed to hear, because as we progressed more through the year, that was really the question that I would say the underlying question I was asked is, who are you believing in? Like, are you believing in a God that is small and does small miracles, or are you believing in a God that is infinite and can do anything? And anybody that knows me knows that I will frequently talk about my beliefs and be open about them. Like, I have no reason to hide, what I believe in. This is how I feel. This is how I interpret things. These are the kinds of discussions that I like to have with people. And I had to be challenged a little bit because I had to ask myself, am I only believing in God for small miracles? And, or am I going to believe that God truly has what's best for my life? And I have to learn to understand that, look, everything doesn't have to make sense. And that's kind of hard to do, especially when you're an engineer, because when you're an engineer, you're naturally used to always having the answers. You're used to things being linear. You're used to things being able to be explained, and it's hard because that was one of the questions I had to ask myself is, are you okay with a God that owes you no answers? That was something that I had to challenge myself. And as I went through this school semester, really the spring semester, it was hard because I was, still caught up in my emotions. I was still hurting. I was, still doing well in my classes. My circuits class was kicking my ass, but, that's just circuits. It's the weed out for electrical engineers that, you have to do well in that class or you won't do well going forward. And it was something that I had to learn that, hey, what are you putting your trust in? And it was hard because one of the lessons that was hard for me to learn during the spring semester was learning to be okay, with being single. And that was hard for me because I always had a negative viewpoint that being single sucks, that being single was a curse, that it wasn't fair. And that was something that I had to learn that, look, that's not true, but like being single is a blessing. And so is being in a relationship. Both are blessings, but for different reasons. And that was something that I had to learn. And it was hard because I wasn't used to that. It was a train of thought that I had to learn to undo a little bit. Like, I had to learn to understand, like, look, but this ain't true. This is a lie. And it was hard for me. And as the spring semester went along, like, I learned to be more okay with it. Yes. Did I get my emotions played with a lot in the process? Yes. Like, you know, I got led on a couple times by a couple girls. And it sucks because I know a lot of people have considered me like a hopeless romantic. And I think what was hard for me specifically was like always being told, hey, you're great, but, you know, it's always that but right afterwards that I'd say it always got to me. And it was hard. And that was something that I had to learn that, look, is this really worth it? You know, like, is making this girl situation, or I'd say like the girl problem where it's like, I want a partner, is that really important right now? And I had to ask myself that question. I had to be objective about it. And it was hard being objective about it because no one can tell you how to feel about someone or how to feel about something. You know, like I can't do that. No one can do it for me. It's how do you feel, you know? And that was something that I had to learn in the process. And as time went on, it didn't become easier. In some aspects, yes, but in some aspects, it became a little bit harder. And then we finished the semester. But before the semester finished, obviously things, you know, didn't go according to plan. And what I mean by that is, yeah. And I mentioned it in a previous episode, dealing with heartbreak, or dealing with loss specifically, my bad, that, yeah, my grandfather passed away this year. And it was hard. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that it wasn't, because I loved my grandfather deeply. I know that my grandfather always cared about me so much that he always complimented me. He was always there to care about me, you know, and he was always checking up on me whenever he got a chance. And that was something that was hard for me because it was unexpected. It really was. And it was hard on my family because, you know, it's my grandfather, you know, and that was something that really sucked, especially because I wasn't able to focus so much near the end of my circus class, which I ended up getting a D in there, which is the first time I've ever done that bad in a class. And, you know, granted, because of the whole COVID situation, I was able to get no credit, so it didn't affect my GPA. And I'm retaking the class. At least now I have the experience that I, you know, already have based on, you know, going through the class. I already know what to expect. But it was hard to focus. And granted, it doesn't make it easy that you don't have a professor that really doesn't be merciful in that sense, at least be more accommodating and not be so much of a, you know, a douche. But it was hard. And it was hard for me to focus. And granted, yeah, like, I'm back to a new normal where at least in terms of my, you know, head being screwed on again properly, where I'm able to focus clearly, where I'm able to make decisions a little bit more clearly. And granted, I also gained a lot of experience along the way, because if you think about it, like, yeah, I know I don't know everything. And that was something that I actually had to talk about with my mentors, and they talked to me about, because they're like, they are primarily focusing on me talking about the idea of dating and talking about marriage, and that this is something that I really, really want. That, yes, I can always have the nice toys, you know, the nice gear, the nice computer, the nice phone, the nice tablet. I can have all these things, but the one thing that I care about the most is having a serious relationship with somebody that just loves me, and just, I like the way somebody put it for me was, You want to find somebody who loves you so much that they cannot imagine living without you, you know? And when I talked to my mentors about it, they told me, Josh, are you willing to live with the consequences of your decisions, of your actions? Because your mind is made up and we can't tell you what to do, but we're asking you, are you willing to, do you fully understand the ramifications of what you're doing? And obviously one of my mentors interjected, and he's like, and I'll answer that for you. You don't. And that's okay. I get it. You're 20 years old. I get it. You're a young guy. You're a smart young guy. And you're a young guy that really wants a partner. But you also do not fully comprehend the full weight of what comes with that, because that was something that, like I said, is something I had to wrestle with myself for a while, is, knowing that, yeah, I have limits. There's a reason why people bring up my age, not to make me feel bad for my age, but to bring up the fact that, yes, you are inexperienced. There's some things you just don't know because of your age, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And that was something that I had to wrestle with, because I wasn't used to that. I was always used to, look, I am going to figure this out. And that I just how like people always do that, where they tell you like, don't do something, or like bet. That's pretty much how I am. I am somebody that always likes to challenge my limits and likes to show that, hey, I do not have limits. Like, I will not abide to the limits that are placed on me. And that was something that I had to learn, that, hey, you need to be a little bit more humble, bud. And understand that you do not know everything. You will not know everything, and that's okay. And it will come in time, and God will give you that, that's just something that I had to understand, because, and, come to a understanding that there's a difference between what God gives me and what I want. Because when I try to force something, it never works out, because I'm ill-equipped, I'm not prepared, and I do not understand the full weight of what I'm doing. But when God gives me something, when it truly is from Him, He also gives me the tools to do the job. He gives me the mindset to have when approaching that situation. Like, it's not just like I'm ill-equipped. No, I'm completely prepared, and I'm also at peace while doing it. And that is something that I had to learn as time went on. And, it's hard, being a 20-year-old guy single, because if you guys know the statistics, guys usually like to get married in between the 20 to 27 age range. That's when guys usually like to get married. And that's when also the feeling of being single in that age range really sucks, because it's like, like, I want a partner. And yeah, like, I'm almost about to turn 21 next year, at the start of next year. And, it's something that I just realized that things are changing, like, that I have a new normal now. But I also have to be mindful of these things, because I also realize that I do not want what my parents have. Like, I would rather have something better. But that's why it comes with patience. That was a lesson that I had to learn throughout this entire process. Really, the underlying theme is learning to be patient, and also learning to be okay with what God had for my life, because that was hard. That was really hard for me to trust that, because it's like how, like, I get it. I know I've read this, I've talked about it, and there's ways that I do believe it, but it's also, there's sometimes specifically in the category of relationships and dating where it's hard for me to believe that sometimes. And that's okay. That's something I have to wrestle with. And that's why, I presented the question, how am I doing? And I say this in the simplest and probably the best way, that yes, while the year started off really, really shitty, that I'm not going to lie to you guys that, yeah, it was rough. But I know that over time, things did get better, and things are getting better. And I just have to learn that, one, I don't know everything. I don't know the full ramifications of what it's like when you're married wanting to pursue marriage, because one of the main things you have to understand when it comes to marriage is that it's no longer just about you, it's about us. That you have to learn to sacrifice. Like, something has to give. Like, you can't, like, you have to give up something. There has to be an even exchange. Like, you're being selfless towards somebody else, and that person is going to do the same thing for you. That it's an even exchange. And that's something that I have to learn to understand is, look, you can't just think about yourself. Like, you have to understand, when you want to go in this direction, you have to learn that you have to be selfless. Like, you have to give up something. It's not, and I know some people say, look, that's not true, but it is, because love is sacrifice. Love is a choice. Love is not a feeling. Love is, love is kind. Love is patience. Love is, holds no record of no wrongs. Love is, love forgives, that it's actions. The way love is described is not a feeling. It's always described as an action, that you're doing something. That's why people always say love is a choice, because it is not a feeling. Because it's hard to support that it's a feeling, because if it's just a feeling, that means it can just go away. But that also contradicts, what marriage is about. That marriage is constant. Like, it's a constant binding agreement that two individuals agree that, look, I want to be with this person for the rest of my life, and I will be with them till death do you part. And, that's what I'm saying, is that was something that I have had to learn as time went on. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't. I'm not saying it is. And I hope you guys don't treat it like I'm saying that it is easy. Because, like I said, like, it's hard. And for me, yeah, things have been good as well. I'm not just going to say things have been all crappy and pretty. I'm not just going to say things have been shit. But things have been good. Like, there's been victories here and there. Like, the show is expanding rapidly. Obviously, my computer got upgraded to a monster editing rig. Like, I got my CA job, which, if you don't know, that's a community advisor. So I'm in charge of a floor now at my school. I started to get into photography and videography. Like, I'm getting pretty good at it, surprisingly. Like, granted, I'm not the best, but at least I'm getting better at it, because I'm still starting out. I'm still an amateur, but at least I'm getting better to the point where it's like, look, I feel comfortable not calling myself an amateur, because that doesn't help me. And granted, yeah, I have a nice camera too, even though some people get mad at me that I went with Canon instead of Sony, but I don't care. In terms of audio gear and like getting better at running the show, yeah, I'm getting better at this. Like, you can obviously tell that, and think about it, because this is the first year of the show. If we are being honest, this is also the first year that we have started the show, because we started the show last year. And it's crazy, because you can tell a difference in tone, a difference in confidence, a difference in flow, that I'm not so robotic anymore, where it's like, I'm not so, focused on a script. And I know a lot of people say it's better to write a script too, but I'm just not so focused on writing a script or having a script. I prefer just a conversation about the things that are going on, and, already having research in my head, like seeing other people talk about these things, seeing how I feel about these things, and putting them together and sharing them with y'all, and then letting you guys decide how you feel. But at the same time, I'm also making things of my own, like the Real Talks, where the Real Talks are just, I get to talk, and there is no script. There is no, like, I wouldn't say there isn't a discussion, but there isn't a set guideline that I have to follow, that it's just off the hip. Unless if it's a topic that I feel that, yes, I need to be well equipped and well prepared to talk about, like the relationships one, or heartbreak, or loss. And that was something that, like I said, has been a victory, is that I've gotten more comfortable with doing this, that I'm not just so stiff, that I'm getting into the groove of making this my own, and not being, well, it already is my own, but you get what I'm saying, that I'm not so stiff about it, that I'm very, relaxed. I'm very calm. I'm very, open. Like, I'm very vivid with my emotions, which that's also a good thing about me, is that I'm not somebody that likes to push down my emotions. I'm somebody that likes to be very vivid with my emotions. I like to show and express my emotions very vividly, like when I cry, or like when I'm upset, when I'm annoyed, that it's obvious, like you can visually see it, because that is the type of person I am. And obviously when I'm behind the camera, you can tell that, like when I'm more vivid with my emotions, or I would say in my presentation of things, like how I'm describing them, how my tone switches. Like I'm not just stuck in a monotone. Like sometimes I can go like really crazy and be incredibly happy and just go bombastic. And then that's just something, like I said, is I've learned to get better at it as time went on. That's why, like I said, is even though, yes, things have been hard, they've also been great too, because I can't just say that things have all been, doom and gloom, because they haven't. That would be me lying to you. And I'm glad that I've had all the people around me to check in on me, see how I'm doing, asking me questions, like, hey, how are you handling these things? Like, how are you processing them? How does this make you feel? Like, how did this situation make you feel? What have you learned from this situation? That I've had people ask me those questions, and genuinely ask them because they care about me. They want to know my answer. And that was something, like I said, that even though, yes, things have been hard, they've also been good. I made a lot of new friends at college, like a lot of engineering guys, and, love you guys to death, like you guys are great. And, as time goes on, we'll continue being friends and talking. And, obviously since we're in the same classes, we'll just keep helping each other out as time goes on. I've been able to fix relationships with people that I didn't expect to fix them. And it's nice, that things are getting better. And who knows, that it's something that I don't know what the future holds, to be honest. Like, I know I can make plans ahead, but I also know that things could change on a dime really quickly, and that I can't control it. And I have to be okay with that. And like I said, is something I also have to learn to be okay with, that I'm getting better at, is learning that, look, you're not always going to get an answer to your questions, and that's okay. Like, God does not owe you an explanation for everything, but you owe him everything, because he gave you everything, And like, that's something that I've had to come to understand, that, look, you're not going to get an explanation for all your questions, bud. That's okay. Everything doesn't have to make sense. There's sometimes things that they're just not supposed to be explained, And that was something that, I'm learning to be more okay with as time goes on. And yeah, is it easy? No, it really isn't. But I'm happier now, because I understand that, look, things will get better. You just have to trust God. Like, you just have to do it. Like, actually do it. Not just say, like, you're going to do it, but, let your actions speak louder than your words. Like, learn that obedience leads to something better, That's what, like, a quote from Pastor JP and Pastor David that they always like to say: if dependency is the goal, then weakness is the advantage. That if the main goal is dependency on God, then your weakness is the advantage, because you're acknowledging that you cannot do everything on your own. You just can't, because it's impossible. It's, that's why they always tell people that you can't really do things on your own. Like, there really isn't such thing as a self-success story, that it's a group effort, because there's always somebody else helping that person, that it's always a group. And that's just something that I've had to, learn to understand. But aside from that, that's why I say is that I'm doing better, definitely better than what I was before. Have things been easy? No, but things have been good, and there have been victories, there have been low points, and I just have to keep pushing forward and understand that, yeah, this life is not supposed to be easy. It never is. Like, it was never promised to be easy. Life actually is incredibly difficult, and it's actually promised that it's incredibly hard, and that you're going to go through a lot of crap. And that's okay, because I'm not going to lie to you guys and, start promoting some prosperity gospel, because, that would be me lying to you, because you're not really supposed to prosper. If it happens, cool, but it's not like guaranteed, But aside from that, I thank you guys for coming back and listening, that you guys have given me a part of your day to talk to you and just share how I've been, basically answering the question, how am I doing? And, that's why I say is I always like doing the real talks because they're always my favorites. But like I said, we'll also have something very special lined up for the real talks going forward. So keep an eye on that. And then obviously, thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really means a lot to me. You guys know I love you guys to death. You guys are awesome. Continue to be awesome, and I thank you guys for everything. That you guys keep coming back listening, you keep sharing, and yeah, but I thank you guys for that. Obviously, if you like this episode, then leave a like. If you don't like this episode, you can leave a dislike. Obviously you can subscribe, and then you can click the notification bell because that's just how YouTube operates. But I thank you guys for everything, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I love you guys to death. Please be safe. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't do anything dumb. Please be safe because times are pretty crazy out there right now. I know they are. I'm not going to lie to you. But be safe, guys. And I love you guys to death. Bye. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.